Earlier today, the Ukrainian government agreed to a ceasefire, a 30-day ceasefire with Russia, but will it last? Welcome to my channel, y'all. I hope you're having a great day. Well, this news is fairly fresh. I don't know how fresh it'll be once I finally get this posted. However, the Ukrainian government has agreed to a ceasefire that was negotiated with them, with the United States. Now, there are some conditions to this, and it must be noted that Russia has not, at the time of my recording this, agreed to the ceasefire. So what are the conditions? Let's first go to a CTV news article, not an actual broadcast, but a CTV news article that broke this story, or was one of the outlets who was reporting on this as of, I think, probably a few hours ago now. This was released today. This is on CTV News. This is actually on almost all of the major news outlets. Ukraine-US work out ceasefire. Now all eyes are on Russia. What it is the US and Ukraine have come to an agreement. And that agreement is, provided Russia approves of this and enters into this agreement, this 30-day ceasefire, the United States will lift its embargo on weapons to the Ukraine and also its embargo on intelligence. The BBC has just recently posted a story on their YouTube channel. Let's go and take a look at what they had to say.
In the last half an hour, the United States has agreed to immediately lift its pause on intelligence sharing with Kyiv and resume security assistance. The announcement came after 8 hours of talks between senior American and Ukrainian officials in Saudi Arabia. In a joint statement, Ukraine backed a US proposal for an immediate 30-day ceasefire, subject to the agreement of Russia. Well, the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio told journalists in Jeddah that the ball is now in Russia's court.
It's a terrible war, a costly war, a bloody war, and his number one interest is ending this war once and for all. Today we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable and accounts for their interests, their security, their ability to prosper as a nation. I want to personally thank, we both want to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, His Majesty, for hosting us, for making this possible. They've been instrumental in this process, and we're very grateful to them for hosting us here today. And hopefully we'll take this offer now to the Russians. And we hope that they'll say yes, to peace. The ball is now in their court. And but again, the president's objective here is, number one, above everything else, he wants the war to end. And I think today Ukraine has taken a concrete step in that regard. We hope the Russians will reciprocate.
Well, just to add to the Secretary's comments, the Ukrainian delegation today made something very clear, that they share President Trump's vision for peace. They share his determination to end the fighting, to end the killing, to end the tragic kind of meat grinder of people and national treasure that's happening on the front in Ukraine. Number one. Number two, they made concrete steps and concrete proposals, not only accepting our proposal for a full ceasefire, which you can see the details of which are in our joint statement that we released together. But we also got into substantive details on how this war is going to permanently end, what type of guarantees they're going to have for their long-term security and prosperity, but also really looking at what it's going to take to finally end this, the horrific fighting.
Now, this obviously sounds like good news. It's a start of a process that hopefully will lead to, prolonged peace in that region, and we'll actually see an end to the war, an end to the suffering, an end to the carnage. But I'm just kind of wondering, is it smart to say that they're going to resume weapons transfers and also intelligence transfers to the Ukrainian government before an actual truce is signed, so before the end of the actual war? Because there are a lot of things to consider here. First, the Ukrainian government actually launched strikes on Russia as late as early this morning, where a lot of damage was done. And they were calling for a ceasefire to the air war, but not a ceasefire to the ground war. I believe they wanted a ceasefire to the air war and the sea war, but not the ground war. And now we have this. So it is a sign that things are moving along. And of course, Russia needs to sign it. It's not in place until Russia signs it, and that's all good. But there's a little bit more to this story, possibly. Now, I'm not saying this is completely related or, obviously related, but there is something that needs to be discussed here, and that is the Ukraine intelligence service, backed by U.S. intelligence services, may have been targeting a U.S. journalist on U.S. soil. And I say may because I don't know. But this journalist was actually murdered earlier on this week. So it is very curious. Now, first, I want to go to a New York Post video on this topic, on this incident. And from that, you won't see any really connection to intelligence services. But there is something in this reporter's history which I found very interesting. So we'll first look at the New York Post video, and then we will discuss that and go to the history of this reporter.
Here's everything we know about the brutal murder of InfoWars reporter Jamie White. On his Monday, March 10th episode of InfoWars, Alex Jones announced that one of his reporters was killed outside of his apartment in Austin, Texas.
Jamie was murdered last night outside of his home, just a few miles away from our studios.
Jamie White, described by Jones as a good friend and the best writer at InfoWars, was heading home after work late when he was killed, Jones said.
This was his desk for breaking stuff on the news. He was up here 6-7 days a week. He was up here last night, Sunday night.
According to local reports and Austin police, authorities were called at approximately 11:57 p.m. on March 9th to a parking lot of an apartment complex on the 2300 block of Douglas Street in South Austin. Arriving just 2 minutes later at 11:59, police reported they found an adult male victim with obvious signs of trauma.
Officers responded to a shoot-stab hotshot, which is a high-priority call for service. The victim was pretty expediently transported by EMS to a local hospital. Unfortunately, the victim, an adult male, was pronounced deceased at the hospital at approximately 12:19 a.m.
And are you releasing whether it's a shooting or a stabbing or?
Just not at this time. Just said that there was obvious trauma, signs of trauma, and one person is deceased.
As far as how Jones came to learn of White's alleged murder, he says that after Jamie didn't show up for work in the morning, his team sent a crew member to his home-turned-crime scene, where police allegedly confirmed the victim's identity as White.
And when they got to the apartment complex, there was yellow tape everywhere and blood all over the parking lot, and didn't look good. And then they didn't even want to tell me yet that the cops had said, no, it was Jamie White. We were the first to learn. We waited until the afternoon until the family's been told.
Austin police are imploring anyone who has information to share it. They have not officially named White as the victim and have released no suspect information, but say they will share more information when they can.
Now, Alex Jones and InfoWars are, well, they have a bit of a reputation. Whether it's deserved or not, I'm not going to comment on that. But he is known for his controversial stories, and he has been sued in the past for, slander, false information. I'm not exactly sure what. So this is a alternative media outlet. Now, what is very concerning here is that there is a history to this reporter, Jamie White. And the history is basically he was a prolific poster on X. And one of his posts I saw was very, very interesting. And it does lead one to believe that maybe there is an angle here that should be investigated. Now, I'm not saying that this angle is credible or not, because according to the news report that we just saw, most people are under the impression that this was a car theft that went bad, or a carjacking that went bad. But the police just aren't releasing that information for sure. So to keep that in mind. This appears to be reported as being a carjacking gone bad. It's just that we have this other information that maybe the police should take into consideration to broaden the scope of their investigation, and maybe they are, because we really don't have any information on that. So let's just go to an old ex-post from Jamie White, and then we'll discuss it further. I'm on the Ukrainian enemies list due to my work at InfoWars and with at Real Alex Jones on the Ukraine proxy war. The group who compiled this list is tied to the U.S. State Department, USAID, CIA, and George Soros. Obviously, it doesn't mean that these two incidents are related, that this homicide that occurred on Sunday evening and this post is related. It could be completely unrelated. The InfoWars, it should be stated, they do have controversial views, and they have been accused of being conspiracy theorists. And I don't want to fall into that category either. I'm just pointing out that there is this old post that I found on another channel. I can't confirm anything else about it other than the date that I saw on the post, and obviously what is written there, what I showed you on the screen. I pulled this off of another channel, a channel that I believe is reputable. So that does lead one to question whether or not they are related. I don't know. It could be. But bringing this back to the real story at hand is this ceasefire and the agreement to give the Ukrainian government more weapons and more intelligence for signing on to this ceasefire. I don't know, is that premature? What evidence do we have that they're going to follow through with this ceasefire? Because we know that they have basically stated in the White House a couple of weeks ago that they weren't really ready for diplomacy, that they didn't feel that Russia was ready for diplomacy, where it almost sounded like it wasn't necessarily Russia, but it was them. And during the ceasefire, is there going to be guarantees that they're not going to continue the genocide of ethnic Russians in eastern Ukraine that's been going on for 10 plus years, and the attacks on their own citizens? Is it a ceasefire that's going to see an immediate withdrawal of Russian troops? Probably not, because it's not a truce. So this is a good sign. This is a good sign. They're moving towards peace, and let's hope that it gets signed, that it gets done. I'm just not sure that providing weapons and intelligence before the truce is actually settled is necessarily a good thing. But I'd love to know what you think. Put your comments down below. And while you're at it, please like this video, share with your friends, and on social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and hit that bell notification so you never miss another video. Also, please join me on Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Pacific time for my live stream on both YouTube and Rumble, where you're invited to join in on the conversation. Finally, if you reside on Vancouver Island and you wish to get your firearms license, I do teach the required courses. So if you want to take a course from me, there's links in the description of this video to my website where you can sign up for one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.